first, before going to a dance or on a date or something, it is important for your son to know some of the things that they might encounter. So I can remember my older sister was already married when by the time that I got to the age of dances and things in high school. And he would speak to me in ways that was like, hey, so you might feel this when
this
you're...
is your brother-in-law?
Yeah, this is my brother-in-law.
Okay.
He would say things like, you may feel this when you're at the dance, or you might be tempted in this way or that way. And as a young boy, sometimes you really don't anticipate that. So your mentor or that father figure or man figure in your son's life can hopefully raise some yellow flags of awareness towards your son and what they might expect, and then teach them and coach them through that. One thing I would say for you, Mom, is that the biggest thing that I can encourage you for is that your son is going to encounter different feelings and emotions that all boys will feel. And so I would say, be careful not to ostracize your son or make them feel ashamed or different harsh emotions for behaviors that in a fallen world might your son might encounter. I would say you, Mom, also be expectant of what to expect with your son and be prepared to have those conversations in a godly way through truth and in a way that is pointing back to Christ, I think is really important.
Welcome to Raising Fatherless Kids, where we believe that
God is a father to the fatherless.
God is a father to the fatherless.
God is the father to the fatherless.
God is a father to the fatherless.
Welcome to Raising Fatherless Kids. I'm your host, Lori Apon, and you can see I have a guest today. He is a familiar voice and a familiar face on this podcast, my son, Evan Apon. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
So glad you're here. Moms, it's spring, and that brings a lot of exciting milestones for our children, for our families, for our teenagers. And it is also prom season. It's time for spring dances and maybe for your children, their first dates. And I know when you are a single mom, that is a big significant time that you have to work through. It's not easy. It can bring a variety of emotions that you're feeling. It can bring a lot of things that your son and your daughter are going to face. I brought Evan into the conversation today because he is going to bring the perspective of a man, the perspective of a young man who grew up with an absent dad. And so I feel, Evan, that you're going to be able to offer some great wisdom and insight for you moms who are just starting this journey. You might watch your son feel very proud that he's growing into manhood, where he's going to ask a girl on a date. That's a big thing. It's a big rite of passage, and it's a step towards adulthood. At the same time, you might feel a little uneasy, a little uncomfortable guiding him in this new stage where he's going to be developing and having friendships, relationships, and responsibility that comes with that. For single moms, these moments can bring about some important questions, and that's why we're here today. We aren't here because we did it all right. I certainly made a lot of mistakes, but I felt like this conversation would be helpful for you to help you know how to navigate this journey, this part of parenting your son, and how he can learn how to treat a young woman with respect, how you can help him grow into a man of character as he begins dating, and how you can encourage him to honor the Lord with his choices. Moms, yes, you're a single parent, but you do play a very important and a powerful role in shaping the kind of man that your son will become. Your guidance, your conversations, your example matters. And at the same time, I say this a lot, but it's true. Your sons are going to benefit from learning from others. And again, we've talked in podcast about mentoring and also sharing your children with others. Invite other couples into your lives, and this is the best time to do this, is when you are crossing this bridge into navigating dating and knowing that dating is preparing your sons to choose a wife and one day to be a husband, and then prayerfully that will grow into being a father. I have the greatest respect for you, Evan. I'll get emotional, but Evan is doing a great job, and I'm thankful that he's here today. We call this type of episode Mom and Man because your sons, ladies, are growing into men. And so we're just going to kind of give a mom and man perspective on this topic. So again, I'm glad you're here, Evan. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so I thought we'd start with, I remember my youngest, and again, I have 4 sons and I have 4 daughters. Evan is my 3rd son. And so a lot of things, by the time it came down the path where he was dating, maybe I'd figured out some lessons from my mistakes, or maybe I was just like, he's got it figured out. I don't know. But I do remember my youngest, it was his senior year in high school, and he put out on social media, believe it or not, I found this letter that he had written to his dad. He lost his dad when he was 13 months old, but he was lamenting some things that he thought if he had an earthly dad, if he had a dad, this is what he would have experienced. So when it comes to dating, he wrote, "Fathers give the best dating advice." And that would have been helpful along the way. "I pray in detail for my future wife, but honestly, getting married scares me. I don't have a godly marriage to learn from, and I wish I could have seen how to love. I wish I could have seen it modeled for me." And so I really believe that is deep in the heart of our boys. They don't have marriage modeled. They don't have a dad kind of given the guidance that they need. And so that's why you're here, Evan. You're going to give us that guidance today. So
yeah, I'm excited. I think our purpose with doing episodes like this is to hear from both sides of the coin. So Perspective Ministries does a lot from Lori, my mom, and speaking life into single moms and fatherless children. But every now and then, I think that it's really beneficial and positive, hopefully, to have the perspective of someone who is raised fatherless, especially when it comes to the topic of dating and relationships, to hear from someone like me who went through these pivotal events in life without that father figure in my life. So we're going to have a few questions and try to speak as Christ-like and transparently as we can.
yes, thank you. Thank you. It's not easy. I will say, Mom, don't put your head in the sand. Don't pretend like it's just going to all work itself out, because you are the parent. You're still the parent. And so it's easy to just say, I'm not going to look. They're going to do their thing. Maybe you're dating and you're focused on that yourself. But Evan, let's talk about some of the challenges, some of the fears that boys who have an absent dad might face when it comes to thinking about dating and relationships and even marriage.
I would say that one of the things that stands out the most about this is just a fatherless boy's absence of the example of what love looks like in the context of marriage, relationships, and not having that example shown in front of you on a daily basis. So in a single parent household, you don't have both sides of the relationship. You have a single mom who's making things work, and so a young man is often having to get their advice and wisdom from other godly men in their lives, or a lot of times is kind of figure it out and guess, which can often be a painful thing. But I know for me personally, that was something that I saw later in my life. Looking back, was just not having that example shown to me on the different aspects of how to work through relationships in a godly way.
Okay, so that sets the stage. We have a void there. And moms, you may have had the best marriage, and you still live with remembering maybe how your husband was romancing you and taking care of you and loving you and dating you, even though you were even into your marriage. And it's easy to forget that they're only seeing one side. You have all these values, you have all these convictions, and yet it's not being modeled. So, Evan, how do these moms fill the void? So their sons, they feel it. And what would be your wisdom and your advice for the mom? That's what she's here for. She wants to know, what do I do to help my son? And he's wanting to take a girl out on a date.
Yeah. I would say, in looking at relationships and how does this shape your son's masculinity and their understanding of what is a man when it comes to relationships, I'll speak first. One thing that I felt was a gap for me later was understanding the in-between parts of what a man's role is in a relationship and how to interact with a woman in a dating relationship, in marriage, when it comes to emotions or different attributes of understanding a woman is a lifelong lesson. But truly, I felt like I learned different parts about have a firm handshake, and you call the girl's dad and ask for permission, and you open the door, you pay for the check. I learned some of these more surface level attributes of being a responsible man in a relationship, but felt that I missed out on some of the parts about how to sympathize with a girl in a relationship, or how to share emotions, or how to share hearts and speak your mind, and some of those things in relationships and in marriage. I realized later in my life were missing because I didn't have that fatherly example in my life, in my years of development, to help me break down different events in a relationship or different components. Men have emotions and feelings and behaviors, and women have the same. And so I felt like I didn't have my fatherly dictionary to help me understand when a woman feels this way or responds this way. It could be because of this, or different areas in relationships that maybe aren't characterized by paying for a check or opening a door. I felt like was a gap in my experience with dating and with relationships. But I will say, you mentioned it earlier, but one of the best ways for any topic when it comes to raising fatherless boys is those godly coaches, teachers, bosses, and men in your son's life to help them learn those skills in their development years to be the best young man they can be in dating relationships and in future marriage, because we believe that God is empowering you moms to be a great source of leadership for your son and raising your son in the way of the Lord. But your son needs those godly mentors to speak truth and to speak encouragement into your son in a way that maybe a mom can't always do.
Absolutely. So let's break it down, Evan. All right. So it is, say, the school announces there's how young do they start offering dances in school these days?
I don't know, maybe ninth grade or something.
Dance, maybe there's a middle school dance. It's a big deal. Is it a big deal?
Oh, yeah.
Why is it a big deal?
I think it's that, when you first start getting into these fuzzy feelings of maybe liking someone or something like that, they're usually pretty shallow. Sitting next to a cute girl in school or sharing notes or something. But that first time that you have a dance where you're going to spend dinner and you're going to go to an event, there's a much higher level of responsibility with that. And
is there really? Times have changed. So I hear you saying the man should open the door, should buy the dinner. I know a lot of people might think, are you kidding? Get with this day and age. Personally, I do think for many reasons it's important because I think you're instilling the leadership role of a man in the marriage. But I'm a mom and you're a man. So what do you think, Evan? So again, we're setting the stage because you're thinking, all right, this is just an 8th grade dance. They're just going to go and have fun. And sometimes they go in groups, which is a great way to start out. But if your son likes a girl and he wants to ask her out on a date to the dance, that's probably the first way to go on a date, right? Don't you think at that age? A school dance versus a date when they don't drive?
Yeah.
So what would that look like?
Yeah, I would say that a dance is a big deal, or a first date, whichever comes first. But I agree with you that our culture nowadays is not helping us out all the time. We live in a world where we sit behind a screen and we're able to reach an individual or interact with somebody by the swipe of your finger, which is not exercising those positive behaviors that you want to see in a godly young man, because you can type what you want and then backspace, and type it again if you said it wrong. Or if you don't know how to properly share your heart, you can maybe let it rest for 2 days and go back. But we really encourage that young men learn the proper ways to court a young lady and to interact in a healthy relationship. So when it comes to a dance, one thing that my mom did with all 4 of her sons was that we had to call the father of the young lady that we were going to go to a dance with. It was a non-negotiable. So, and it wasn't just like a one-time, you got to do it one time and you're good. It was, if you went to, a couple of homecoming dances, you went to a military ball or something like that, you had to call that a father every time. And that was a really, really terrifying drill that we had to go through. And like Mom said, I'm the 3rd son. So when it got to me, I knew it was expected, but you show respect to that family and to that father by placing a phone call, and basically what we did was we expressed our plans for that evening. If we were going to go to dinner somewhere, what time was the date? The father usually was asking, what time can I expect my daughter to be home? But these were things that we had to do, and you hung up and you wiped the sweat off your brow. But looking back, what that is it's teaching your son to show respect to young ladies and show respect to the concept of family and protection, instead of sort of approaching it with a spirit of entitlement. Like I can take this girl to a dance. I don't have to talk to anybody or ask anybody. And what this does is it really sets your son up to realize that respect goes a long way when it comes to relationships. And this isn't only just for that young lady's father. This is also something that is going to be incredibly healthy for whoever that young lady is in the relationship. When a girl finds out, wow, he called my dad to give the plans to my dad, that makes a young lady feel safe, makes a young lady feel seen. And that was a huge first test that we had to go through. And I have zero regrets. I'm very glad that my mom did that. And as she said before we filmed this episode, that I have a little lady of my own, a daughter who has just turned 1. And you better believe that young man is going to be placing a call before my daughter ever leaves the house. So,
I would sit outside the door where the call was being made with my son trembling. Really, Mom, I have to do this. I have to make this call. Yes, he had to do it for himself. Again, it just showed respect to the girl's father. It also valued the girl he was going to take out on a date. This is prayerfully the man's greatest treasure is his daughter. And so you're setting up some accountability really without the son realizing it, because he's had to think through, what's the plan going to be? We're not just going to figure out where we're going to go out to eat. And it's a rite of passage that I think is very important for the maturity of your son from a young man growing into a man. He is going to be a husband one day. He is going to be providing. So yes, I know we have Dutch Treat, and what is the dance? The Sadie Hawkins, where the girls ask the guys, and that's all fun. But again, this is an opportunity to put in a foundation with your sons of what it looks like to even think about who he's taken out on a date. And the dad I've had the dads have some fun, even though it wasn't fun for my sons, like to really kind of enjoy having the conversation and asking some important questions. But I've also had them very tenderly kind of step into what it would feel like for my son to make that call. They were young men at one point. One even, knew it was going to be a lot of money and so he approached me. He said, "Would it be okay if I gave your son some money to help with the dinner?" And it was just very tender because he was honored that my son had shown the respect to make the call, which kind of won him to my son's side, and young people, we want your parents on your side, right?
Yeah. And I would also say that there was a few cases where that young lady's father might not have seen the value in that himself, where, there was somebody who was like, "Oh, he doesn't have to call me. Like, it's really fine." And mom was like, "No, he's in a call." And that's where you said it's really the young man is doing this for themselves. As a way to show respect. And I would also say that this creates boundaries, and this creates a source of accountability. If you are telling that young lady's father what the schedule is, what time that they can expect her to be home, that is going to create some boundaries that'll be healthy, and hopefully create a support around your son in their younger years of navigating through relationships, so that it's not just all these mysterious questions like, where is my daughter at? When is she going to be home? And your son is feeling like they're off the hook because nobody knows the better. So I would say this is a 10 out of 10. Definitely would encourage you to challenge your son in doing this. I love that you did that for us.
Wow. Okay. All right. So Evan, when we start dating, and often in our sons, young men, they're okay. I don't have a dad. They've got on the courage face. And all of a sudden, sometimes these milestones like this, maybe it's like all of a sudden it hits them like, wait a second. Mom's saying I have to call the dad. Mom, I don't really know, and I don't really want to talk to my mom about some of these things. And so then they start to feel the loss of a dad. So when you start dating, when young boys start dating, does that father wound start to show up? And if it does, what's a mom supposed to do about it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of emotions that a fatherless boy will see surface in the time of dating. Some of that is just feeling the loss of someone to share it with, the excitement of taking a girl to a dance and wanting to talk about those things with a dad. Of course, wanting to learn from your dad is often missing as well. That if something caught your son off guard, or there was a part of the evening that was, he had questions about, that's something that a son might not want to talk to mom about. And that's something that son might feel those emotions of wanting to resonate with another man in their life. And they might see some of those emotions come to light during this season.
So how do we get these men to step into that place? We've talked a lot about mentors, but would you say, Evan, that this is a good time for the mom to kind of scout out the land? Is there a coach, or is there a teacher? Is there someone that she can go to and really, the term is give the on-ramp, to say, you know what, my son is getting ready to take a girl out to a dance, or he's getting ready to date. And I have had conversations with him, but I feel like it would be better if he heard some things from a man. So what would that look like? Do you think that's a good idea? Is that helpful for these boys? Or do they want to just kind of man up and I don't need anybody, I'm good?
Well, you might get that response from your son, but that may not be the direction you go. I would say always be praying. Of course, like we've said in different episodes of mentorship, your son is going to need godly men around them as they go through this season, because at age 15, 16, 17, they may think that they're grown and mature and they've got all the answers to life's questions, but they really don't. And it is a very positive thing for men to be speaking into your son's life. And I would say something that when I look back, the mentors that meant the most was men who were mature and had the wisdom of the Bible, but they spoke in a way that was personable and connected with a 15 and 16-year-old instead of, don't do this or you do this every time. Just the ability to listen to me if I shared something or I said, I'm kind of feeling this, or, something like this happened, or whatever it was that the question came up about, is the ability for a mentor to level with that young man and be able to speak transparently. I know that that's something that I want to be for my son, is not be this hard-lined, rigid figure, because that's going to often turn your son off from wanting to open up, and that results in them not getting the teaching that they should get at that age. So if you have someone in your life that is a mentor to your son, or you have ideas of someone that you're praying for your son, I would say consider that. Consider having that conversation and saying, I want you to speak into my son's life, give godly biblical training and wisdom to my son, but also just be human. Just talk to my son. Come from the perspective like you know what they're going through, because all of us were 15 at one point. All of us had that first dance. So being able to connect with your son in that level and then give the teaching beyond that, I think is super important.
For sure. So do you think moms and sons should practice? Like, do you think the son should take a mom out on a date for practice? Like, is that a good idea, or is that a mom idea? Like, will you take me on a date?
Well,
you're going to pay for my dinner?
One thing that I would say is this kind of goes hand in hand with general manly requirements and expectations of a son, like working hard and having a job that gives you a source of income or gives your son a source of income is a leading point. But I would say, yes, I would say you need to start instilling these behaviors in your son, even at a young age, so that it becomes natural. One thing that I remember is I had 4 sisters, and it was expected that we opened the doors for our sisters. So it was always fun if you went into a shopping mall where there's 75 doors or something, but we were expected to open the door for my sisters everywhere we went, and my mom too. And I'll share this story. This is a funny story you may remember. There was just one time we were walking into some place, maybe a mall or something, and we had gone into the building and we had gone up a flight of stairs and around the hallway. And I looked at my brother, I'm like, where is mom? Did she go to the bathroom or something? Did she stop to get a drink? Goodness. And back then, of course, we didn't have smartphones. So we're just sitting there waiting. Like, oh my goodness. All right. My brother says, why don't you just go check on mom, see if she's okay. So I go back and mom is sitting outside that front door with her hands crossed and just sitting. I open the door. I'm like, are you coming, mom? What's up? Well, I would like to come, son, but the door just wasn't open. So, and I got the point right there in that moment, was that neither of me or my brother remembered to hold the door open for my mom. And that was a lesson she was teaching to us, is you open the door for ladies. And that is a sign of respect. And so, yes, things like that. I can also remember being 13 or 14 and doing this with my grandmother as well. So going out to a restaurant, my grandma saying to the server, he's going to take care of the check. He's going to take care of all the details. And then when that check came around, I remember her looking at me saying, do you know what 20% of the bill is? And those things, of course, I didn't at that time, but it was just making your son get comfortable with those certain details of what manhood looks like. And it's really important at such a young age.
Well, I do believe that we are to let men lead. And I know we're in a different day and age, but the Bible is the same. And I think that's important. And so we have to step back sometimes and let our sons grow into manhood. So, Evan, our time is about gone, but I want to give a couple more practical things. I have a few more questions and that won't take long. But how can a mom teach purity and set up guardrails? Because this does go hand in hand with even a dance, going out on a date. How can she help provide accountability for the temptation that will come? Is she to be the one that's monitoring that? And what does that look like as a single mom?
Well, I would say first, if your son doesn't have a ton of mentors in their life or mentors that you really trust with this type of topic, I would say it still is pivotal that your son hears the wisdom. So if that is you, mom, that has to have some of these conversations, then that's what your responsibility is, because that sure beats the alternative of your son not hearing any source of wisdom. So yes, I would say that first, before going to a dance or on a date or something, it is important for your son to know some of the things that they might encounter. So I can remember my older sister was already married when by the time that I got to the age of dances and things in high school. And he would speak to me in ways that was like, hey, so you might feel this when
this
you're...
Is your brother-in-law?
Yeah, this is my brother-in-law.
Okay.
He would say things like, you may feel this when you're at the dance, or you might be tempted in this way or that way. And as a young boy, sometimes you really don't anticipate that. So your mentor or that father figure or man figure in your son's life can hopefully raise some yellow flags of awareness towards your son and what they might expect, and then teach them and coach them through that. One thing I would say for you, mom, is that the biggest thing that I can encourage you for is that your son is going to encounter different feelings and emotions that all boys will feel. And so I would say, be careful not to ostracize your son or make them feel ashamed or different harsh emotions for behaviors that in a fallen world might your son might encounter. I would say you, mom, also be expectant of what to expect with your son and be prepared to have those conversations in a godly way through truth and in a way that is pointing back to Christ, I think is really important.
Well, we could talk about this for a lot longer and cover a lot of other topics, but this has been a good start today, I feel like. Do you have any encouragement for any young sons that might be listening, or any last words for the moms?
I do. Fortunately, you are not going at this alone. Though it may feel like that at times, you have a God who is fighting for your son's life and is fighting for your life. And you don't have to have the answer for every curve in the road. But just trust that God is sovereign and he has an awesome plan for your son and for you, and you're doing an awesome job.
I agree. You're doing a good job, Mom. Enjoy this season. It can be scary. It can make your season without a husband feel a little extra lonely. Maybe you feel like, okay, now you're the third wheel in your own family sometimes, and that's hard. But remember, God is Father. I loved having God as Father when my children were dating, because I could rest my head on the pillow and I would say, I'm so glad you're a father to the fatherless. You're omniscient. You're all powerful. You're all seeing. And so I knew that God was watching over my children when they were going on those dates. So don't let the unknown and those daunting situations overwhelm you. God is there. He is fathering your son. He is Father. So keep praying, keep guiding, and keep pointing your son to truth. And God will be faithful. He's gonna be there. He's not gonna let you down. So Evan, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Great wisdom, great insight. And moms, thank you for joining us on the Mom and Man episode of Raising Fatherless Kids. And if this conversation has been encouraging, please share it with another mom and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any more conversations like this. Remember, God is with you, and when God is Father, your sons and your daughters are going to be okay. Have a good day.